Thank you for joining in the Shine Within podcast. I have a wonderful guest. I had the honor of being on her podcast show, Recovery Comes Home Radio. Adrienne Tichy is a compassionate leader and advocate in the recovery community, dedicated to helping individuals and families navigate the challenges of addiction and healing. As the founder of a comprehensive recovery network, Adrienne provides in-house residence programs, personalized case management, and virtual recovery initiatives, empowering lasting transformation. With extensive experience in intervention, sober transport, and guiding individuals through their recovery journey, Adrienne combines empathy with actionable strategies to inspire hope and resilience. Her holistic approach and passion for breaking the cycles of addiction have made her a trusted force for change in countless lives. Thank you so much for the work you do, Adrienne. And I'm so happy that you're on my show. I know we've been
Oh,
talking
my
about this.
friend, I couldn't wait. I was so excited for today.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. And before we hit record, I know we were talking about the holidays. It's just around the corner, Thanksgiving coming up first. Now, it can be an emotionally challenging time for people who are either sober curious or in the recovery process. Why do you think this season is particularly challenging for individuals in recovery?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. We have a lot of things going on in our social world, right? Um, Everything changed in 2020, and we are not coping well with the after effects of the lockdowns and the pandemic. In addition, we've also just been through a pretty brutal election cycle, right? So in addition to the normal challenges of the holiday season, because there's always challenges at holiday parties, especially if it's your family, and work parties too,
Yeah.
right? But I think it's a particularly period of time because people just don't have the strength to withstand the temptation, right? They might not think about this beforehand like we're talking about today, and might be unprepared when they walk in and are bombarded with questions like, why aren't you drinking? And, oh, you can just have one. Let's just have one shot. You'll be okay. And I think the person in recovery feels like they're not a part of.
Great.
So, navigating the festivities and the pressures, the relationships, it all coalesces during the holidays. And I think that's why you see so many people that wait until New Year's Day, right? Maybe they're sober or in recovery before the holidays, but they're thinking like, well, I'll just, have this little slip and get back on the wagon in January.
Mhm.
So, it's the holiday season is often thought of as a time of joy and celebration. But for the 20% of the population that is in either some kind of active addiction or recovery, it can be a period fraught with a lot of challenges, right? From emotional triggers to societal pressures. Alcohol and drinking is glorified in our society. You watch something like Blue Bloods, they're drinking wine with dinner. When they're talking about something serious, they've got bourbon and they're busting the perpetrators in the bar.
Yeah.
So it's endemic in our society. Um, Even if you have the strongest resolve, willpower, right? We know that willpower by itself is not enough.
Hmm.
That we have to have some strategies and encouragement along your journey to help navigate the season, educate your relatives, and then everybody can enjoy the holidays together.
Yes. And then can you actually go ahead and share some of those strategies for managing family dynamics or like even social gatherings? We were just talking about work parties. I know every holiday party for work involves alcohol. Um, so if you can go ahead and share some of those strategies, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would say is have a plan. Don't just show up. Think this through beforehand and even run some scenarios like we like to do all the way through, right? Run that tape to the end. Um, for example, people are relentless about getting you to drink. I don't know why, but that is a societal thing. So it's really good if you can get there early, get a mocktail, or even something like a Coke that you put a lime in and a beverage straw. You get a napkin, you put the drink on your hand. Nobody knows that you're not drinking alcohol. The other alternative is you can just be honest and say, I don't drink for health reasons. I'm allergic. I don't drink because I have a divided pancreas. So the first time people harangue me after I say, look, it's not worth me having a drink and going to the ER with a pancreas attack. Not doing it.
Right.
And then like it's so crazy. With health, they understand. With recovery and addiction, they don't. Oh, you can just have one. That's why I think it's essential for you to have something in your hand to cut down on those questions. It'll make you feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was also sharing with you that it was Thanksgiving in 2014 that I finally admitted I was an alcoholic because I had just been partying the night day before, probably that many hours. And then my mom says, "Let's go. We're going to go to your brother's for Thanksgiving." And I was like, great. But I forgot my bottle of alcohol. I would normally pour some vodka in either a water bottle or Coca-Cola bottle, would mix it with Coca-Cola that way and make it look like I was drinking a Coca-Cola. So it's
Yep.
interesting. So people are not asking, oh, what are you drinking? Oh, it's just Coke, right? It's opposite because I was the
Opposite.
alcoholic.
The
Because I was the
opposite.
alcohol. I was the alcoholic. But I didn't have that with me. So what happened is as when we got to my brother's house, I felt ill. I was shaky. I was nauseous. I was about to throw up and I felt like I was going to die, Adrienne. Like I felt like I could have died.
You do.
Yeah. And so I
I
asked my
mean,
mom.
I think that's an important point to bring up for everybody.
Yeah.
You feel like you're going to die without it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you know what my mom did? She gave me like 4 ounces of red wine because I kept it so well hidden, my alcohol disorder, that nobody knew. And my mom kind of knew, and she only gave me 4 ounces of wine. I said, Mom, no, I actually need the whole bottle. And then she's like, What? And then that was the moment I finally admitted I was an alcoholic because I knew I couldn't function without it. And then I wound up taking myself to rehab that December. And so that's where kind of that journey began because when I finally admitted I was an alcoholic. So yes, with these family functions, it can vary. You were just sharing with me that your husband would go to a family function during the holidays and get into fights because he was drinking at that time. Can you go ahead and share now what happens when he stopped drinking?
Yeah, and so this is the strangest thing. Like, it wasn't just him and bar brawls; it was the whole family. Like, they all fought. It was just a drunken brawl fest, but it was a tradition. I know it seems to hold those two things together. That seems a little strange, but like everybody looked forward to Christmas, and then everybody had bar brawls. Then when he got sober in January 14th of 2000, and that Christmas he was almost a year sober. And his sister had to tell people in the family because they were calling and saying, "Well, you can't have Jimmy at Christmas." And she's like, "Oh, it was okay when you were in the coat room stealing everybody's money, but it's not okay when he's not drinking."
Right.
So she put her foot down and really stood up for that. And that's one of the other tips that I have is choose supportive environments. Go to functions where people respect your recovery. That doesn't mean that there's got to be no alcohol in the house, but maybe it can be downstairs or in one single room. So that way, if it's not obvious that you're not in that room, because we all know the people that are going to be in that room the whole night, right?
Right.
You can pick them out in your family, I'm sure, Gina, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can too.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would suggest is consider bringing a support along with you, a sober support along with you. And take your own ride so you can leave when you need to.
Yes, and nothing happens, nothing good happens past midnight, I'd want to say, especially at those parties. Everyone who are drinking, they just turn into something else.
Something
They,
else after
oh,
midnight, right?
something else.
Yeah.
So I always say like the Cinderella rule, like leave before 12 o'clock if you can. Like you made a great point. Get there early, and then gives your hugs and kisses and then enjoy
Yeah,
yourself.
get there early before everybody's drunk. I mean, I'm
Right?
I'm serious. Nobody likes to talk to somebody that's drunk because you don't, unless you're drunk,
Yeah.
you don't remember what they're saying. It's not fun to be sober and talk to drunk people.
Yeah, yes. And the support system is so important. Even,
Absolutely. That was the next thing that I was going to bring
yeah,
up is, you know, when you get into recovery, you get usually into some type of support network. And that can vary. It can be a 12-step program or Celebrate Recovery or Recovery Dharma, Smart Recovery. There's a lot of options now. And call your supports before you go. Call them after you go. Step out and call them while you're there.
yeah,
Don't wait until after you've taken the drink to call your sponsor and say, "Oh, I didn't have a plan." And they were offering shots, and the next thing I knew, I took one because it happens that fast.
yeah,
So there's also those groups have functions on holidays, usually 24-hour meetings. So, like a whole day on like Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, where you can go to a meeting 24/7. So, go to a meeting before you go to the event, go to a meeting after you go to the event. Talk with people about it in the meeting and say, "Look, I could only stay 20 minutes.
yeah,
I was bouncing out of my skin. Do what's best for you."
yes. And prayer always helps too. You
Prayer
can
helps. Oh my gosh.
meditate on it or pray on it. It helps truly and ask guidance. If you're confused as far as what you should do for your next steps, I always look up to my higher power and just ask God, please guide me what I need to do. And then I swear, like either the Holy Spirit, inner wisdom, it comes in and then it puts you into action. And then you just get a lot of clarity. And then you're just grateful afterward as well. Adrienne, I
Yeah,
was,
I think too, you have to navigate those family dynamics. They
mhm.
are going to change and expect that people aren't going to know how to treat you. And just try to answer their questions like a normal person. Try not to take offense. You know what I mean? They're really not educated. It's not that they're trying to be insensitive.
They just don't know what you've been through and where you're
That's
trying to go
right.
because they're not experiencing that. If you had a family member perhaps that was in recovery or even sober curious, then they would get it. But the other ones, they just don't understand. When they don't understand, they're going to have like fear with it and then be negative towards your judgments, which is interesting. I always think that's interesting.
Well, and there's also alternative celebrations. You know, in my town here in Delray Beach, it's a town of 70,000 with 20% of the population in recovery and another 10,000 in active addiction out of 70,000. So we have on New Year's Eve, the city puts together a sober, family-centered New Year's Eve party. It starts at like something like 3 o'clock and goes until 10 or something, and then they put off fireworks, I think, at 9. But it's a town that recognizes that recovery is here and here to stay, and it's good for the family anyway. You know, your kids don't need to see you loaded at a family function.
Hmm. Yes, you have to think about your role as a parent there, and you want to set up a good example and think
Yeah, those
about,
boundaries, right?
yeah, if you don't do it for yourself, think about your children. That's what I did. I remember I had a choice whether I want to live or die. And I thought about my two boys. Yeah, back then, age 9 and 2. I was like, okay, no, can I really leave them motherless? No, I don't want to.
No,
They deserve a healthy
no.
mother.
No, and even, you know, you don't want to be a mother that's there and not present either.
Right. And that was me. I was there, but not fully present because I was in la la land, in my own different world of alcohol, and that was not safe for the
And
family.
remember self-care, you know, time takes time.
Yeah.
The first holiday that you go through is going to be rough. It'll
Hmm.
get easier with time, you know, you'll get more confident, you'll get more self-esteem because you start doing esteemable things.
Hmm.
And then each successive event, now we go and we absolutely love Christmas Eve, you know, and as the years have gone on, Jim and I have been married 14 years, but I met his family almost 20 years ago. I was his date to our niece's wedding.
Mm.
I met him in church and I didn't even know what a recovered alcoholic was. I'm like, never even heard of that.
Right.
But I hear stories every year, which is always really cool because I get to collect different, more stories, you know, for ammunition later on in life.
Yeah.
And but I mean, he's made such an incredible turnaround that everybody's bursting with pride. And as it turns out, now they only drink at the bar in the basement because only maybe 5 people out of the 40 that come are even having cocktails.
Oh, wow. Do you think he set an example to
I do.
everybody? Oh, wow. That's beautiful. It is
I
a ripple
do.
effect. I truly believe it's a ripple effect. Once you start shining, everybody else sees it and then they want to shine and they do shine. It's really their own choice. And it's a beautiful ripple effect. I swear. I think, yeah, once people truly see who you are and had overcome the darkness and now are into the light, and then they're just amazed and then they want to do that. Yeah, I love those
Well, and to
stories.
tie that in with your shine within, you know, once you get the light, it's your responsibility to share that.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, we can hold the light and stay steady in one position, right? Stationary, so everybody always knows where to find us. They can bring their candle at any time. I can't force somebody to bring the candle over to me, but if they want my light, I'll share it
Hmm.
because that's the best work of life is service to humanity.
Hmm. Yes, yes. And then once we're healthy, we feel good. It is, that energetic, that vibration, that frequency that we let out is goes on and on and on. I love it. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the friends and family, going back to friends and family, because we were discussing how sometimes they don't support us.
Yeah.
And what advice would you go ahead and give to families and loved ones, even to someone who's in recovery during the holidays?
You know, first I would say try to be empathetic. Um, especially that first holiday is going to be brutal. They're anxious, they don't know what to expect. They're dealing with their own early recovery stuff, right? Overwhelmed. And so try to be empathetic to that and be communicative with your loved one and say, how do you feel about alcohol being in the house? What do you think about the party starting at 5 and the cocktail hour starting at 8? Something like that, right? Think outside of the box for solutions. Um, don't divulge that your relative is an alcoholic in front of the whole group.
Mhm.
Be considerate that it's the person's right to say whether they want to tell someone that they're an alcoholic or not. Don't put somebody on the spot. And I would say be brave enough to stand up to the family members who don't think that they deserve to have a seat at the table because they
Mm,
do.
that's right. Now, also during the holidays, people are often feeling alone. Like sometimes they don't have family to go to, they don't have anybody, and they're in the recovery process and they want to drink. I remember a lot of times my friends would tell me, "Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have boyfriend. I don't have anybody." And the holidays are so depressing to me because they see on the commercials, families, gifts, The TV is horrible, by the way, when they
The
try to
TV
put
is
that.
horrible, by the
Turn it
way.
off. I think that's the first step. Turn off the TV. But what would you say to those individuals who are in recovery and feel sad during the holidays? And how can they keep their sobriety?
Well, I think one good way, if you feel alone during the holidays, is to consider having a sober event,
Love that.
right? Just maybe make it a potluck. Everybody brings something. You know how everybody is in recovery. We're not frilly and fancy. It's like just bring something over, come, bring yourself. Your presence is your present.
Hmm.
And you could also do service work. Go serve at a soup kitchen,
Hmm.
right? You're feeling lonely. These guys don't have a home
Hmm.
and they're hungry. So I would say do something to help somebody else because isolation is a killer for anything.
Hmm.
You know there are other people who don't have somebody, who are sad on the holidays. Reach out and, we've got clubhouses here in Delray Beach. Put a flyer up and say, sober Thanksgiving. Don't have anywhere to go this year? Come to my house. Bring a side or not. You're welcome here. Right? That's what it's about. In the holidays, you it's about family and tradition and you want to belong somewhere. And you know what? Some of our residents aren't allowed to go home yet. And so every year that we've been open, we hold a Thanksgiving dinner and we hold a Christmas party, the holiday party. It's
That is so nice.
important that they eat together on Thanksgiving. And until recently, until my parents got kind of elderly, we ate our Thanksgiving dinner with our residents because
Mm.
we are their family by extension.
Yes, and can you actually talk about your in-house residence programs and even the virtual recovery initiatives that you do to support individuals who are trying to stay on track and in their recovery?
Sure. So we mainly do four things. We started with recovery residence community. That was in 2008, so we just celebrated on Monday was our 16th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We quickly grew. 5 years in, we had 72 souls
Wow.
and 10 houses. One was a triplex and a staff. Um, Now we have pared down to three men's houses. We have three single family houses. Two are three twos, and one is a four, two and a half. Um, and they have five men per house. So they come to us, it's a minimum of 6 month commitment, but most of our residents stay a year to a year and a half. And these are generally the hardest of the hardest cases that nobody else will take on,
Mm.
that need hand holding through that first year, like on site in our houses with us up close and personal. Then we do LRA, which is Lodge Recovery Advocacy. We help other people that are in other people's houses who need non-clinical case management. The same thing that we do for our residents, we do for people that live in other houses. Then we have a virtual component because a lot of our residents are high achieving professionals, executives. We have CEOs, we have sports figures, we've had politicians, doctors, attorneys, pilots, people that you really don't want to think about, that they're taking something to get up in the morning and taking something to go to bed at night.
Mhm.
But addiction does not discriminate. It
Right,
hits all socioeconomic levels and all professions.
right.
So, for those folks, they usually come down for a 2 week vacation detox that they were sent to by their company. And on that third Monday, they have to show up to work with their vacation photos. All their direct reports are wondering how vacation in Florida was,
Yeah.
right? And they went to detox. So they're starting out having to lie. We come into their house via Zoom, right, in the privacy of their own space
Mhm.
and help them get through what they have to get through to stay in recovery and stay in their job. So we go through the full year. And then the fourth thing is I'm the host of Recovery Comes Home Radio podcast, which is just about, ending the stigma, broadening people's understanding of addiction. It's not just substances anymore. It's problematic behaviors like gaming, gambling, shopping, food, screen time,
Any addiction, really.
any addiction. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on a continuum. And like I said, our mental health issues, addiction, suicide, and domestic violence are up 40% since 2020. We are not dealing well post-pandemic. And I'd really love to increase the mental health awareness too, because that's the majority of the people we see now.
Hmm.
5 years ago, it was primary addiction, secondary mental health, meaning that they had mental health issues from the drugs they took. Now they're using substances to try to assuage their symptoms of their mental health issues,
Wow.
like drinking, and drinking still kills more than any drug combined.
Hmm.
More people die of alcoholism than die of every other drug combined.
Yeah. I mean, it's at every store around the corner. It's on TV. You're just saying, they glamorize it all on TV. My husband and I were just watching The Godfather. I've never, a side note, I've never seen The Godfather before. This is the first time that I have. We saw one, two, and three, but he was sharing with me that, man, they're drinking and smoking all the time.
All the time.
It's everywhere. It's nuts.
It's a lot of time wasted, isn't it?
Yes, you can be doing so much better in your life. But I know it takes time. And that's why, I admire your program and your recovery facility. And that's beautiful. I wish I went there. That sounds
Yeah,
something.
we're really strict. We're hard to get through, but our graduates make it long term. We have lots of lodge babies and grandbabies now.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Like 16 years is a long time, People have gotten married and ha moved on with their careers and not just stop drinking or stop doing drugs or stop doing problematic behaviors. They excelled. They increased their personal development.
They're
And I think
thriving.
that's key.
It
Keep getting
is.
better every day. Just try to be a better person today and do the next right thing.
Yes, that's amazing. Now, Adrienne, where can our listeners go ahead and connect with you?
Well, there is a QR code behind me that you can scan that goes to infone.co/RCH. You can find me anywhere there. And you can find Recovery Comes Home Radio on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube.
Beautiful. And I will have everything in the show notes, but is there any last words that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, there is. I'm going to leave you with a story about a dear boy who was just beautiful. He was so excited about going home for the holidays. And when he got back, I couldn't wait to to go up to him. And I said, tell me everything. How was it? And he said they had no idea what to do with the sober Steve. 3 weeks later, that young man was dead from an overdose.
Mm,
Don't let this be your family. Recovery is hard enough. Try to put yourself in your loved one's shoes and celebrate those small wins because in the beginning it's everything.
mhm.
And I promise it'll get better from here. Where there's breath, there's hope.
Amen to that, Adrienne. Wow. Mm. Thank you so much for being on my
Of
show.
course.
It's
I
always
love you
wonderful.
so much.
Oh, I love talking with you. We give you a big virtual hug. Thank you so much, Adrienne.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me.